worst squeeze in living standards in 70 years. Putin, COVID, Brexit, or Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng. Find out in our autumn statement special with the Chancellor Jeremy Hunt, the Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves and Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon. After the news, wherever you are.
Hello, good evening. I'm Helen Keenan. This is ITV News London. Tax hikes and spending cuts will see millions more Londoners forced to make difficult choices this winter. The Chancellor has made his autumn statement and, as predicted, it included a raft of measures to get the economy back on track. Jeremy Hunt's Surrey constituency braced themselves for how the budget would hit them. The Chancellor, of course, now lives away at number 11 Downing Street. In Farnham, they also have a Downing Street, and the workers there are worried about their own economic futures, as Carolyn Sim explains.
In Jeremy Hunt's constituency town of Farnham, there's a Downing Street, a place he must be popular, having been the MP here since 2005. But following today's statement, are the people at number 10 and number 11 happy with the decisions he's made? Elle Harper runs a tattoo parlour at number 10.
It's disappointing. Hopefully maybe they'll add something, or there'll be addition, there'll be another statement, but yeah, disappointed to see that there's not as much help for like small businesses and then the energy crisis as well.
24-year-old Helen Hides works at the cafe at number 11. He's pleased to see a rise in the living wage, but is it enough?
I'm using this sort of to pay for my studying, so I think that if people lose jobs because businesses close and stuff, I just don't think that that would be really good for a lot of students and things like that.
British businesses and consumers.
For these restaurant owners in the nearby town of Godalming, it was an anxious watch.
I think he has a big task in front of him, ahead of him.
In the 4.5 years this business has been running, the cost of food and energy have soared. So will the Chancellor's plan to bring down inflation help? What had you hoped to see from today's statement?
We were really hoping that maybe
a reduce on the tax
on
and
the
VAT. That helped us through during the pandemic, to go through the pandemic. That was brilliant.
Everything that comes in here, apart from wines and very few products, doesn't have VAT on. So as soon as it comes through the door, it has VAT added. So we're generating VAT into the system out of our own hard work. But we're not seeing any claim back on the VAT. It's an immediate drain on the system.
So you must be disappointed by today's statement then?
Well, we are. I mean, we were expecting some kind of help, or at least having us into account, because we are small businesses. It's not just us. There's so many small businesses that are struggling.
There are some happy constituents, though. At this centre in the village of Milford, the inflationary rise in pensions is welcome. But many know there's a long, hard economic slog to come.
Last couple of years, somebody promises, you know, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and people just want to see it.
Things are going up at such a rate that everybody's going to be very involved in trying to economise.
The feeling here is that the Chancellor has gone some way to protect the most vulnerable. But businesses feel their financial position is as uncertain as ever. Carolyn Sim, ITV News in Surrey.
The Met Police have released an image of a man they're searching for in connection with an alleged rape in Stratford. Officers were called to a property in Forest Gate on the 12th of December last year. The woman, in her early 20s, is still receiving specialist support. Meanwhile, police are also looking for two men that forced their way into a woman's home in Wandsworth and threatened her with a knife while she was holding her baby. They demanded money but left with nothing. It's believed neither the child or mother were injured. The World Cup in Qatar kicks off in just 3 days' time, and it's already one of the most controversial tournaments ever. Many question why it's happening in a country where being gay is illegal and could lead to imprisonment. We asked our reporter, Shadia Edwards-Dashti, who plays for West London's side, the Actonians, to sit down with her LGBT teammates to hear what they think.
Obviously, we are just days away till Qatar hosts the World Cup. How are you feeling ahead of that?
For me personally, I've not really been following the lead up to the World Cup, mainly because it is an anti-gay, anti-LGBTQ+ country that is hosting it. I'm not going to go out my way to support the World Cup this year.
You actually lived in Qatar and recently came back. Can you just explain why you came back?
In terms of where I am as a person, you know, in terms of my gender identity, my sexuality, is something that I felt that I couldn't really talk about. I felt like it was going backwards. So that really started being a bit heavy on me, and I really wanted to just come back home.
I just want to show you guys a video. This is the Qatari World Cup ambassador, and this is what he has to say about people like us.
But it's haram. Why? Because they're damaging the mind.
How do you feel about that?
Well, it's infuriating, isn't it? When you think, like, last week we had 2 Premier League players, well, it was reported that 2 Premier League players are openly gay in their team. And to think that we don't know who the players are, but if they're representing England, to think that they're having to go back in the closet over there because they're damaged in the mind, it's sickening.
I think it takes more public figures to come out, literally, and speak out against all of this.
It's not even just the gay people who need to speak up. I think, like, there are some people, like, for example, Jordan Henderson or you know, the Harry Kane. They do wear, you know, the rainbow cap badge.
Is that enough?
That's not enough, but this is a start, isn't it? I suppose it's about putting pressure on the organisers, isn't it? Putting pressure on FIFA.
The thing is, I don't think a women's World Cup would ever be held in a country like that. It's a shame for the men that are part of the LGBTQ+ community, because it is just putting them back in the closet after, like, how far we've come over the last few years.
That was Shadia reporting there. And finally tonight, when Shayna Pear was diagnosed with an aggressive form of breast cancer, she feared after chemotherapy that she may never be able to have children. But because of a pioneering medical procedure, she's now the very proud mum of baby Sienna. Rachel Brown has a story.
Precious little moments like this. At one point, Shayna thought she would never have. Now 7 months old, her daughter Sienna is a little miracle for her and her husband, but also for the medical world.
Just love being a mom. I couldn't imagine my life any other way, and I feel so fortunate that it's turned out this way.
And she's such a beautiful little girl and so happy.
Yeah.
Shayna was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer in 2018, just a few months after she got married. She needed intense chemotherapy, and at this stage, IVF wasn't an option.
You Google breast cancer and fertility, there's not very many stories of actually people having babies afterwards.
Breakthrough treatment by NHS doctors gave Shayna the family she has always wanted. Before starting her cancer treatment, strips of tissue containing her eggs were frozen and replanted in her remaining ovary once she had completed her chemo.
With your matching outfit with Mummy. Yeah.
But not everyone can receive this treatment. It works on a voluntary basis and depends on the goodwill of doctors. The programme receives no funding, something Shayna hopes will change.
Oh no. Going through cancer and then also having to go through fertility issues is 2 big hurdles in life, and if anyone can make it easier, I just don't know why it wouldn't be offered to everybody.
NHS England say they are considering proposed plans to fund the service across the country. For Sienna, she's still blissfully unaware of how special her entry into the world really is. Rachel Brown, ITV News.
Oh, well, isn't she just adorable? Now, it's been a bit wet over the last few days. Will it continue into the weekend? Let's take a look at the weather forecast with all the details. Here's Sally.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles. Car, charger and energy.
Hello, a very good evening to you. I hope you had a lovely day. managed to avoid getting wet once again. We have got a little bit of rain and cloud around this evening overnight, but tomorrow should be a pretty dry day with some sunny spells in the mix. And then into Saturday, a chilly start, but again, moment looking pretty dry. Right, let's take a look at the detail for tonight. So that cloud sinking south, bringing a bit of rain with it at times, but other areas staying dry with some clear spells, so the temperature's falling away. Not too cold tonight, but not particularly warm either. But as we start tomorrow, we should have some sunshine around, and there will be sunny spells throughout the day. Some cloud drifting in, but less breezy tomorrow. And although the temperatures are back down to average for where they should be, highs of 10 to 12 degrees, it might not feel quite as fresh as it did today. And into the evening, fairly similar really. Again, dry, clear spells, but the temperatures really dropping away into Saturday morning. So the further west you are, there is a chance of a bit of frost. And into Saturday, if we can keep that front at bay, things should stay dry. But overnight, this system moves in, so a damp start into Sunday, hopefully improving, but it's a few days away. Keep an eye on the forecast. That's it. I'll see you later. Good night. Sleep well.
ITV London Weekday Weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles.
That's it from us. We're back on air tomorrow from just after 6 o'clock with updates in Good Morning Britain from the Late Team. Good night.